time to take a ride on the MCT.
Funko Pop. Hey guys, do you want to go to Lambert's? Big Ben. I'm married to the Huntress. J Money. Just pop the mic money. It's time for the MCT. Ladies and guys and ladies. MCT. What's up, guys? Welcome into the Modern Christian Dudes podcast. My name's Jeremiah Johnson, alongside Funko Pro Greg Walden. We're not going to waste any time on this news. I did buy a new action figure, a new He-Man and the Masters of the Universe figure. Did you notice that?
I did not notice that.
I got one. I really disciplined myself a lot more. Buzz off on the far right there. Anyway, and then we have Big Ben, aka King Ranch Askew, in the house.
How we doing?
All right, we are dudes talking news, sports, and God. Like, share, and subscribe if you would. Appreciate all of you that join us each and every week. Well, I'm sorry if you don't like football. It's just going to be the thing for the next couple of weeks at least, and then we'll take a break. I think this is the biggest news of the weekend. Not the Kansas City Chiefs, not the LA Rams, not the Super Bowl, but rather, according to news, Tom Brady, the GOAT, is calling it quits. What do you guys think of that?
Actually, that may be a hoax.
There could be a retraction. I did see that in ESPN.com today.
Well,
here's what I hear the story is. So Adam Schefter out of ESPN, which is kind of the main newsbreaker out of everyone. Adam Schefter is kind of the main guy. He reported that along with some other dude. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, other dude. But anyway, they came out and reported that someone from the inner circle of Tom Brady's TB12's inner circle said he's going to call it quits. But a little bit of the retraction today is more along the lines of Tom Brady being mad that someone in his inner circle released that information because he wanted to be the one to do it. Which
you would want to.
Yeah,
I mean that's respectable, I think.
So I think my call is I think he's going to retire based on some of the reports I saw today. Couple quick YouTube videos I watched. I think he is going to retire. They're just going to try and put the fire out a little bit here, and then figure out a way that he can present it.
He might just in spite.
It might, yeah.
Of everybody just go listen, I'm playing another year now.
Yeah,
it could happen. But
I wonder if he's going to do a Brett Favre. He's going to start pulling Brett Favre.
Yeah, maybe
it's possible.
I mean,
he could. I mean, because he said he wanted to play to 45. He's 44 right now. Maybe he could take a year off. He is a free agent. Keep that in mind.
Right.
So he could take a year off. Maybe he gets the hunger and the desire again, comes back one more year.
It's kind of bittersweet.
It is bittersweet
for me because Tom Brady's kind of the last. Well, Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger, which Ben Roethlisberger's gone now. He's retiring, and Tom Brady now. That's that. So this is my first in my lifetime.
Yeah,
my first official turnover of pretty much everybody I
24
remember
seasons
from.
24 years. Think about that. 24 years.
Yep.
This is a third turnover for me.
Wow.
No, I'm sorry, Greg Weldon.
I know, I'm old.
But that's the first official, and I think that those two were really the last holdouts in my mind of people that are still playing.
Because Ben Roethlisberger, the retirement, it's a changing of the guard. It is now the NFL for Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen,
Burrow.
Yep. Burrows is taking the league by storm. Yeah. So there's really no old school outside of Aaron Rodgers. That's kind of the last of that.
But
generation.
For me, it was Brett Favre when I was a kid. So that's not as big of a deal for me.
Yeah.
It was Joe Montana.
And whether we want to acknowledge it or not, I think he has to be placed atop of the list of all-time quarterbacks based on those Super Bowls.
It's true.
The stats along with it.
Was he?
Really I have other quarterbacks I like better.
I'm originally me too. I'm originally a Tom Brady hater. Couldn't stand him, and really the turning point for me, and I think this is a turning point for a lot of people, was the Atlanta Super Bowl. When they were down 20 points, after and then he came back and won that game, and just you can't take anything away from Tom Brady. He legitimately went out there and won the game, but
And I here's what we don't acknowledge enough. Here's two individuals we should acknowledge more: Tom Brady and LeBron James as being good fathers. I mean, think about Tom Brady and LeBron James. They've never been in legal trouble.
Well,
they've never.
That's one of the
They're
things.
good dads?
That's one of, well, and when you're a Cowboys fan and you have spent the last 20
Yeah, well, the last time the
20,
Cowboys were
25,
winning, what were
nine-
their players doing?
19
Crack houses,
1996.
prostitutes, like across the practice facility.
when you don't like somebody like Tom Brady, and then you find out he's a genuinely good human being.
Yeah.
it's like no, I just want to not like you.
Yep.
Stop being such a.
So those guys
stand-up
should get
guy.
more love, more credit.
It's true.
And how about Big Ben's son? His nickname is now LeJon James.
John James.
Yeah.
I can't take it.
All righty. So there you go. Tom Brady, shout out to you. And we don't have a lot to add, but just that, it was a great career. Lots of memories.
Amazing.
And you gotta shut it down. I think the biggest thing for all of us, I think what's weird about sports is most people in real life, whatever you are doing as a profession, you don't retire until you're 65,
Right.
70.
Yeah.
But to retire at, he's actually 44, but
Yeah.
think a lot of other quarterbacks or NBA players retiring at 35 years.
Yeah.
Any other profession, that's you're just getting started.
Well, with Tom Brady specifically, I think it'll be interesting to see what he does. I think it'll be interesting to see what he does with the rest of his life.
You haven't been following the
Well,
Gram where he just came out with recently released the Brady brand.
No.
So he has a whole apparel line, the Brady brand. That's one of the things he's going to be.
I could care less about that.
He's like, hey guys, check out the new polo.
Wow.
It was actually kind of funny because he's like not like amazing at that. Like he probably should have Giselle do it.
Right.
He's like, oh, check out my new polo. It's really comfy and the fabrics are awesome. Go to the Brady brand.
Yeah, well, I mean,
And many people.
is Tom Brady going to be an analyst? Is he?
Yeah. That's
See,
the job. Why waste your time being a coach when that's like you probably have to work
Right.
like 120 hours a week to do that.
Yeah.
It
But the reality is too is that they don't need to do anything for the rest of their life. Him and Giselle.
Troy Aikman's leaving the what do you call it? The announcer type
Yeah.
stuff. So Troy Aikman's leaving.
commentating, color
Yeah,
analyst.
commentating. Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah.
I thought he was possibly doing a deal with Amazon because that's a thing for next year. Did you know this?
Yes,
that
Amazon Prime.
Amazon
Good note.
Prime got rights to NFL games, so they're going to start airing games on Amazon Prime next year.
Now,
I think
did
it's
you hear
next
this story? Did you hear this story that the local Walmart, where close to where Tom Brady lives, they keep saying that Tom Brady keeps coming in saying his tires keep getting deflated. No, I was kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Oh no! Oh, no.
Honor the man, Greg Walden. Honor the man. Put respect on that name.
Well, see, that was the Deflategate was where I got respect for Bill Belichick because when Brady took that 4-game suspension, I'm like, okay, we're gonna really find out if the Patriots are any good. And then Belichick goes in there with third strings and just slaughters teams. It's like, okay, Belichick might be a genius.
Okay, well, we got to get. Let's move on from football here because maybe we'll come back to the Chiefs. We're in Chiefs Red Kingdom here. We don't really want to talk about that.
Do you want to go over who's going to be in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, let's do it quick.
Might as
While
well
we're in football
do that
news,
quick. Okay,
The Chiefs.
Not that we
Pat
care.
Mahomes. You got to listen to this. Context is king, according to one podcaster I listen to. We don't take a lot of things in life with context. If you go back in Brady's career, he had some choke moments.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. Peyton Manning had choke moments.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers has had choke moments. So I don't know how else to say it. I tried to find another way of looking at it, but Pat Mahomes choked on
did.
Sunday. Like what's happening
It's
right
really well, and they should have had that touchdown, that last one. And I think they were
in the first half, you mean?
In the second half.
Yeah.
At the end when they were in the red zone and they were running down the clock, Cincinnati had their last timeout. They took the timeout and then they had I think it was first and goal maybe. And then you can tell they wanted to run down the clock so Cincinnati didn't have time.
Right.
Well, they choked that real bad, and then Mahomes gets sacked, and everybody's like, "Why didn't he throw the ball away?" It's like because they're trying to run the clock down.
Yeah,
but that was they should have just gone and got that touchdown.
I'm saying that at the end of the first half, where they have that botched fourth down, they went for the 7 touchdown instead of the field goal right at the end of the first half. Yeah. I told Harrison sitting next to me, I said that is going to come back to bite him.
Yep, and it did.
Like what happened to him in the second half? It's like the same team in the first half didn't come out in the second half. It was like a totally different team.
Well, listen, you can say what you want to about Cincinnati, they just played good football yesterday. I mean, they controlled the ball for most of that game though too, and my opinion in watching football, if you keep that defense on the field for the whole game, and that's what it felt like.
Yep.
Those long drives, it was like 3 plays to first down. They skip.
Football
how you
players
win.
are not built to like run more than 5 seconds.
Right, exactly.
Basically, spurts.
So with Cincinnati just running that ball, I mean, just having that ball the whole game, the defense, you wear them out, and that's how you win a game.
See, that's what the Chiefs really need a really good dominating running game to kind of to supplement and complement Patrick Mahomes' passing game.
Yep. But okay, so our picks last week.
Yeah,
Greg Walden, you jinxed the Chiefs.
Is my reverse psychology working?
You didn't do it last week.
Yeah. I picked the Bills the week before, and then Chiefs won.
Jeremiah, you picked the Chiefs as well.
Yeah.
Guess who picked the Bengals? Guess who picked the Bengals?
I should have rode my dark horse. I rode him there the first couple of games.
I picked the Bengals.
I gave up on him.
Yep, I picked the Bengals to win that one. So I got that one right, and then we all got the Los Angeles Rams, which I'm gonna be honest, I didn't even look up the game and how it went. All I saw was that the Rams won by 3.
Yeah, it was
2017. So, but yeah,
the psyche of Joe Burrow has clearly been elevated.
Yeah, he's a stud, absolutely. Okay, so who do you think's gonna win? Bengals, Rams.
I'm doing the Bengals.
So Greg Walden, we're doing Bengals,
which means the Rams will win because that's where my reverse psychology always works for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good game. I'm gonna go with Bengals. I'm going Bengals, but I don't know. We'll see. The Rams. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't watched a single Rams game yet though this year. So
they've been a surprising team.
Right. Yeah, I know, and I'm sure that our buddy Lane from Utah. Actually, he lives in Illinois now, but I'm sure he's just freaking out. He's a huge Rams fan. So,
I mean, would you have picked the Rams to go to Super Bowl at the beginning of the season?
Probably not.
Yeah,
probably not.
I wouldn't have picked either team.
I mean, I picked Green Bay to go to the Super Bowl, but Aaron Rodgers let the whole world down, apparently, which I'm okay with. Who do you think?
I was kind of, just to be a little retro sentimental, I was kind of hoping maybe it'd be that ode to the 49ers and Bengals back in 91 or 92 there.
Yeah.
I'm going to take, for the Super Bowl, I'm going to take Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay. It is unanimous.
Let's go, Rams being fairly explosive team.
I think it'll be a good game.
Well, the Rams
35-31.
Well, the Rams are going to win because I
35-31.
The Rams are going to win because I picked the Bengals.
Well,
first psychology has been I picked the Bills, the Chiefs won. I picked the Chiefs, the Bengals won. So it's like that reverse. So I'm always picking the opposite.
Yeah, but that Burrow and what's that wide receiver's name? Number one receiver. They were in college together apparently. So they're just we talked about it yesterday.
Gelling.
Yeah, they're just that's the 1-2 punch there. But yeah. That's
there we go, guys. Way too much football talk.
Way too much football.
Let's transition into this way. I had it pulled up here. So we got to get to this because we haven't really discussed it much on the Modern Christian Dudes podcast. But I found this article. YouTuber, let me bounce over to it here real quick. Sorry, guys. A YouTuber creates the world's first retractable lightsaber that can cut through steel.
Oh, yeah.
You see this, a Russian YouTuber is living out a Star Wars dream after creating the world's first retractable. Keep that in mind. There's been other lightsabers, retractable. Alex Birkin, behind the YouTube channel Alex Lab, was recognized by Guinness World Records for the over 3-foot plasma blade that reaches temperatures of over 5,072 degrees Fahrenheit and can cut through steel.
I can see a Darwin Award eventually on that.
What were you saying there, Big Ben?
Oh, I'd seen this guy's stuff before. I thought it might be a different group. I thought it was a group that made the Captain America shield and Mjolnir, Thor's hammer. But you said he's Russian, so I don't think it's the same.
Yeah. And like I said, I've seen some of the other lightsabers, but they weren't retractable.
The ones I'm talking about had made a lightsaber, so I just assumed it was them.
Says it worked for only 30 seconds on full power. The hydrogen torch is not as stable as it could be, and you can easily see it when it moves. Sometimes the lightsaber just blows up in your hand because of hydrogen flashback. He told Guinness. He plans to continue working on his lightsaber and get it close to the movie version. And if the iconic Star Wars weapon doesn't interest you, he's also working on an Iron Man suit.
I just make sure not to put that thing in your pocket.
Yeah. I mean, so it's basically a note, a Galaxy Note or whatever it was. That was remember that
Note 7, yeah.
Yeah, I remember they used to blow up in people's pockets.
Yeah.
All right.
I had one.
With that in mind, lightsaber, Star Wars. Now we need to have the discussion of Boba Fett. All of you Disney
okay.
Plus subscribers.
Okay.
Boba Fett starting off the conversation.
Are you
Funko Pro
Are you
Greg
updated?
Or Big Ben.
Did you?
I'm updated. Yes.
Yeah. All the way through
You
episode
owe
5?
me $8 for having to resubscribe.
It's not
just to
my
watch
fault. Hey, listen, that was completely your
episodes
choice.
that were a waste of my time.
You owe me $9.99. You owe me $9.99 for getting Paramount yesterday, so we could watch that football game. So we're even.
Okay.
So we were in episode 5 of the Book of Boba Fett.
What's your overall take of Boba so far?
Oh man, it's been really hard for me. Obviously I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'll watch anything Star Wars.
Yeah,
but it's
a roller coaster.
It's kind of one like, okay, I'm just trying to make sense of this stuff.
Up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay.
And so this latest episode, you haven't seen it yet. Maybe you want to tune out and go watch it before you come back.
Spoiler alerts now.
Spoiler alert.
Skip forward if you don't want to hear about episode 5.
All right. So, all right. You had your hands. All right. Mando
Yes.
comes back.
Oh, my
in episode
goodness.
5.
Oh my goodness. The most brutal Star Wars scene of all time. Absolutely the most brutal.
Yes.
Which one?
The beginning scene of episode 5 when he's in the meat locker.
Oh,
and he has the dark saber and just goes ham. That's funny.
Literally ham.
Yeah, literally ham.
Yeah. And so he's basically, he's well, I don't know what happened to him since the end of the last season of the we know that Luke Skywalker took Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
And then we don't know what happened until between that and this episode. So there's kind of like, okay,
So,
where was he doing?
Is it going to 6 episodes total? What's the total for this
I don't know
season?
what the total is. It's probably 6 or 8.
Yeah.
That's kind of their sweet spot.
Here's my take so far is the last episode was the best one. If your best episode of your series doesn't even feature your main character, it's probably a problem.
Well, that's the okay. All right, and here's my overall opinion. I think that they've done a kind of bad job of with Boba. Like my opinion, and this is my opinion. Boba should keep his helmet on at all times. Like that's the way it should be. I'm not saying because of the Mandalorian, this is the way situation. He's just way more intimidating when he has his helmet on.
Yes.
And I think that maybe they're just trying to give the actor more recognition.
Okay.
But I'm not I don't approve. And actually, there's an interview. There's an interview with that actor. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
I can't remember.
Anyway, where he is saying,
Funko Pro Greg Walden, from a Star Wars fan, you're striking out here.
I know Boba Fett.
How many
I don't know the actual
episodes
actor's
are in
name.
the season?
you should
Who's
look
the
at, you should look
actor?
up his name.
Okay.
But
Hold on, we'll
so
look it up
there's
here.
an interview of him where he's talking. He said he's been telling the directors, "I'm saying too much. I have too many lines. Boba Fett does not say words." So that even the actor is saying that he's doing too much. So, which I agree. Boba Fett's supposed to be this like not mystic.
Yeah,
but
mysterious. Adds
just,
to the mystique, less words.
And they've kind of watered down his and given him some kindness.
The Mandalorian is a great example.
Right.
He didn't say that many words. He said some words,
I
kept
can-
the helmet on.
I can bring you in.
Yeah.
warm,
So it was a big deal.
bring you in
It was a
cold.
really big deal when the Mandalorian took his helmet off.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, exactly. And exactly that's it. And I think they could have maybe held off on it. But anyway, it's been a roller coaster. I will say
Yes, it has.
the first 2 episodes were decent. I was satisfied, other than I think they were trying to do too much with Boba Fett. I like the expanded Sand People story.
Yes,
I kind
I
of
do
like
like that part,
I
yeah.
liked that. I liked. I'm not saying that I liked the massacre, but I liked the whole dynamic of, now it's his fault that the Sand People were massacred, and so now this is emotional. And when he rides in with, I'm sorry, I'm going to give it its original name, rides in with Slave One and just obliterates that gang.
Yeah, I like that.
You're just like, die, trash. And then the Sarlacc pit situation I thought was kind of interesting. But episode 3, okay, we need to talk about episode 3, okay? And this has been people are calling it the Power Rangers episode.
Oh yeah,
it's like,
oh man,
get me some teenagers with attitude. Those mopeds.
Oh, that was horrible.
It was the worst idea I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
and I had to go in and say, okay, who's directing this? And it's the same director that directed Spy Kids.
Well,
So it gives you a little inclination of.
Yeah, it was like watching the Star Wars
having a
version of the
flashback.
O.J. Simpson chase.
Yeah, it was just, it was awful. They shouldn't have done
They
it.
should just put them on Ford Broncos.
They shouldn't have done it. But then they followed up with episode 4, which was where they go into Jabba's palace and retrieve Boba's ship, which was a good episode. And then episode 5, Mandalorian, which to me, I thought that was the best episode of any Star Wars show so far, even Mandalorian season 1 and 2. Just the whole dynamic of him going through and trying to find the surviving Mandalorians, and then the battle between him and Count Vizsla, which Count Vizsla, if you didn't catch it, is a descendant of the one who made the Darksaber, the Jedi Mandalorian that made the Darksaber. So he thinks he should own it. Anyway, I thought that was cool. And then he made some armor for Grogu, Baby Yoda, which they haven't revealed it yet. I think it's going to be like a chainmail shirt probably. It's what it looked like because you saw the little rings.
Yeah.
But okay, but we get to
Those were Sonic rings.
yeah. But then we get to the creme de la creme of the episode, and he returns to Tatooine, which was funny because he had to do a commercial flight and release his weapons, which I thought was just a funny little, whatever. But he goes back and they rebuild a Nubian 1 starfighter.
Yeah, I like
and
that
they
one.
soup it up and make it awesome. Oh man, I was geeking out. Because see, here's my thing. A lot of people don't like the prequels. As an adult watching the prequels, I'm like, okay, I can understand how it doesn't really fit with the original Star Wars series. But when I was a kid, when that first one came out in '99, I was 9 years old, or 8 or 9 years old. So of course I'm gonna absolutely love it. I'm gonna love Jar Jar or whatever because I'm a kid, and that seeing that nostalgic shit starfighter, and then rebuilding it and souping it up. And see, and the thing is like Mandalorian had this very like biker feel to it, like that whole he's on a speeder and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now it feels like this episode's like souping up a muscle car kind of vibe. Anyway, I really liked it a lot.
Now, did you notice something? Do you like there was kind of like a little Halo reference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear a reference, but
That circle, that city on a ring,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
a Halo, that looked like people.
Well,
like,
I made
Halo.
I made a joke. I was watching it with a friend of mine. Shout out to Maxwell. We were watching it, and I was like, "Oh man, just wait! Here comes Master Chief."
hey, that would be awesome. I would actually, I would love to see him in that.
It did look like a Halo ring.
Okay, I say bring back the Mandalorian, bring back Grogu.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Boba Fett.
seems-
I'd be fine.
Well, it seemed from just some of the dialogue that we got from this episode, it seemed like that is a possibility. And then when they built that N1 starfighter, you notice they had that glass cap.
Yeah, for a
where,
droid.
where the droid
would
was.
work,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I was like, oh, that's perfect
That's
size
for
for
Grogu.
a baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
The
I
fondling.
think
Good
it's
pickup. I didn't notice that.
I think
yeah.
it's gonna happen. I think
Yep.
it's gonna happen.
Absolutely.
Anyhow.
But see, here's the thing: is if the Mandalorian makes the Boba Fett series more popular, like, okay, what's going on, guys? Man, when the Mando is he has his own series. Now
Yeah.
gotta do something, Boba.
We have to wait until next year for Mandalorian season 3. The next, but in the near future, I think at the last quarter of this year, the Kenobi series is supposed to come out, and the director that's doing that one, her last name's Chan. she directed some of the Mandalorian episodes, and she actually directed my favorite Mandalorian episodes. I don't remember which ones, but she's in charge of the Kenobi series, so I'm really hoping, I'm thinking that's going to be a good one. Hayden Christensen's coming back to reprise his role.
I'm stoked on the
Kenobi. And Ewan McGregor is coming back as Obi-Wan.
And I think that's only going to be four episodes, right?
I haven't looked it up.
I think last I heard it's going to be 4 episodes.
I'm so excited for that, though.
But I wonder if they're going to tie Ahsoka in with this Boba Fett.
She has her own series.
I know. One of them they're going to kind of tie her in. Maybe she'll make an appearance in this series. Or
hopefully all will be made right in the Force. So any other hot topics here before we get into spiritual talk today, guys?
I'm good. We geeked out already.
Yeah, we've gone off.
Here's the thought. I did do this on another little video devotional I made, but I think it's a good food for thought. I actually was talking about a little bit with my wife, but we're reading through the 1 Year Bible, encouraging people to do that in our local church here in Missouri. But one thing we're talking about, or I was reading through, was Moses as he's getting ready to lead the people out of slavery via Pharaoh. And I was reading through the story of the plagues, right? So you have the plague of frogs and flies and all this kind of stuff. And so I did a devotional called "Why do we only, or what I call it now? Do you only pray when there's frogs or something like that?" But Pharaoh is obviously not a godly person, not a God-fearing follower of Jesus Christ. But I thought he brought out a couple interesting things that we do as spiritual people, as Christians sometimes. Is number one, do you only pray when there's frogs? That was my question. It's basically like, what is Pharaoh's doing? Is like, Moses goes and like, hey, you need to let us go and go worship and those kind of things. And then you're like, oh, no, I'm not going to let you go. And then Moses is like, well, okay, then here's what's going to happen. There's going to be like a giant plague of frogs and it's going to be really bad. And then Pharaoh's like, well, I'm not going to let you go. And then these frogs come and then everything's really bad. And could you imagine just frogs everywhere in your bed, in your room, all over the place? And what does that do? It basically, then Pharaoh's like, okay, just pray to God. And so that the frogs will go away, and then so Moses goes and prays and like, so we can worship, our people can worship the Lord. So then he goes and prays to God and, hey, God, take the frogs away. The frogs then go away. And then as soon as the frogs go away, Pharaoh's back to, no, you can't go now, that kind of thing. But I think it's interesting as believers, the point I was trying to get to is we practice that, or we operate like that sometimes in our spiritual life, is that we're only praying when there's frogs. Yeah. We're only praying when there's something bad. And the summation of our spiritual life, our prayer life, a lot of times is just like, my wife and I, what we were talking about this morning specifically was like, we just pray for sick people. So like the church sometimes, which isn't bad. It's not inherently bad.
Only praying in crisis.
Yeah, we're only praying for crisis. We're only praying for sick people. Yeah. We're only praying for things that aren't going our way. And then that becomes the summation of our spiritual life. And that's not really a healthy prayer life.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with Pharaoh, his heart was never really into doing what God wanted him to do in the first place. He got the frogs. Oh crap! The frogs are here. We get them going. I'll do whatever. And then the frogs go away. Comes back. Well, okay, frogs gone. I'm not letting him go. And so it's a heart issue with Pharaoh. And so when people approach God and say, I want this, is their heart really into wanting what God wants or wanting what they want? Mm-hmm. And so they get in a crisis. Oh, I need this from God. I need this from God. And if God were to give it to them, then they're back just the way they were before they had the crisis and just serving themselves, serving their own desires, not really caring about following God.
Yeah. And again, we do that. I mean, I can make fun of myself in one way. Like, I notice how much I pray on when we have a board meeting, on the day of a board meeting. I can notice I can pray a lot more when I know the financial report is going to be out that week. That's not going to magically put more money on the report, but it's like, okay, Lord, or things like that. I'm just saying we have, a lot of times in our life we're only praying not out of a relationship, not out of this love for God, but like, I need this.
If we go back to, and we had a conversation about this last week, I think we were talking about the numbers of people who pray.
And frequency of prayer.
Yeah, frequency of prayer. The ones that pray the least are the highly educated, very wealthy. Yep. Well, why? Well, their life is primarily good. Who prays the most? the disparity, the ones that fall below the poverty line.
Survey said poor, uneducated
right,
people.
Right. And
we didn't say that. That's
well, the reason that is because they don't have anything, and there's no, they have to rely on God, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think that's, we talk about America, it's, we have it pretty comfortable,
Yeah. And see, I was in the military, and when I was over in the Desert Storm, the church services was always packed. I mean, everybody went to church, everybody went to chapel.
Yeah.
And chapel means like the tent be full, but you go back to Stateside, you couldn't get nobody.
Yeah.
You couldn't even. They would even get free pizza. You still couldn't get people to go to church.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, great point.
I mean,
yeah.
that's well, think about it though. If every day there's legitimate enough hazard to your life that every day could possibly be your last day, you would want to be right with God, right? In the military, over in Desert Storm, you're going out on patrols and everything. You don't know what day is going to be your last. With war, I can't imagine. That thought going through. Of course, you're going to be in church. Like, I would want to be right with God every moment, every second of going out there, right? But in America, like, we're very comfortable. Yes, there's the potential. Yes, there's a potential of every day being your last day, but the percentages and likelihoods of that is a lot less than if you're in war.
Yeah.
But, of course, if you're comfortable and if you stayed at home every day, the likelihood of dying is significantly less. So,
and then the result of that, then, the second half being, then the frogs go away or whatever plague is gone. And then he just reverts back to, no, you can't go and worship,
Right.
So it's like, we pray when there's a plague or a bad moment or frogs or whatever it is. And then the moment that isn't there, then we naturally revert back to that state of existence. And so it's like, that's why, again, talking about spiritual disciplines of reading the Bible, of prayer, it's like, that's why we do those over and over again. So we're not just praying just when there's something bad.
Yeah.
We're not just, because the other part of reading the Bible, how many people read the Bible just in a state of crisis in hopes of getting a word from the Lord? Like me as a preacher, a bad example could be is the summation of my Bible reading is just to get a message. And that's not healthy either.
Yeah. But you think about, we've talked a lot about missionaries, and Pastor Rachel, your wife, talks a lot about that lady that went to China with absolutely nothing in her pocket. And we talked about how missions today is, you have to raise enough money to get to that point, blah, 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 blah. And I think about, it's been a couple years since I read a book about Smith Wigglesworth and how, the evangelism and missions, it used to be, you're basically going on a prayer, right? You're wherever you're going, you're just believing that God's going to have, provisions for you as you're going, and how much you read about how much God moved with that lady that went to China. And I think the story goes where she just got on a train. She believed that she was supposed to go to China. There was a war going on, and she just believed that she was supposed to go to China, and she didn't have anything in her pocket. And she just kept going, and kept pursuing that because God put it in her heart. And, and amazing things came out of that ministry. Same, I think it was Smith Wigglesworth. They didn't really have anything. They just, wherever they went, they just believed that God was going to provide for them as they go. And when you have faith like that on an everyday, for God to provide, food and clothes and a place to stay that night, when you're constant, and I would attribute that with Pastor Jeremiah. Sometimes he doesn't fill up his tank with gas, and everybody's like, why doesn't he fill up his car with gas? It's like, I think it's just his faith thing. He's just believing that he's gonna,
Praise God.
Somebody's going to show up with a gas tank and fill his car up.
I think it's a strategy to build pastor's faith, but that's a joke. But if you rely on God every day to provide and give you provision, you're going to see a lot more God in your life and a lot more miracles, and you're going to have a lot more testimony of what God's done. Whereas if you are if you're above a certain money range where you make enough money, and it's like, well, yeah, it's like you can afford food, and warm shelter and sleep. You're gonna thrive as a human if you have all those three things, right? Food, water, warm bed for sleep. If you have those things, you're just gonna survive.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're just
in my the Bible actually tells us how to pray, and if we really want to understand prayer and how to get our prayers answered, we got to know what the Bible says about prayer, not what we think prayer is, but what the Bible. And the Bible says, "Seek first the kingdom of God."
Yeah.
Then all those things will be added unto you. But so our first prayer is obviously we want to find out what God's will is for our lives. We want to find, God, how can I fit into your will? Not my will, but your will. And then we tap into doing what God wants us to do. And then we pray on that, in that avenue. So God, if you want me to go to this missionary field. And then, so God says, I want you to go to Africa. Okay, so God's already stated his will is you go over to Africa. Now, if you're praying on that avenue, well, God's going to answer your prayer because you're trying to line up to his will. And as long as you're lining up to his will, he's going to answer that prayer.
Yeah.
And
Why did you pick Africa specifically?
I just
Greg Walden. I have a little conviction there. Anyway, sorry.
And then whatever becomes one other item note I was going to say, whatever becomes habitual becomes natural. So, supernatural or a life of faith and knowing God, that can be natural. And that's kind of the goal is to have faith and that to be more natural than the opposite, right? It's like, no, I would never just pray when things are going bad. Like I would never do that because I pray more often. It's a regular, all those kind of things.
Yeah. And one thing that I was I talked with the youth kids about this last Wednesday is that there's always more to pursue with God. It doesn't matter if you have been a Christian for 2 seconds, if you've been a Christian for a couple of days, months, years, decades, and it doesn't matter if you're 90 years old. And I talked about this a little bit at men's breakfast the other day. It's like the fact that we're supposed to pursue to be as like Christ as possible, and that perfection, that's impossible. We can't be perfect. Mm-hmm. But that's amazing because there's always something to obtain and always something to strive towards, and that goes with our relationship with God. It's like if you were, I've had conversations and I'm guilty of it myself too, just being like, it's just my relationship. It's just like, they talk about that, just those boring periods, where it just doesn't feel like God's doing anything. It's like, well, Are you stepping out in faith to allow God to stretch you? It's like okay, if praying out loud for a person in public, it seems like a most difficult thing to do, then maybe you should start doing that.
Yeah.
But once that becomes a habit, if you're just used to praying out loud and praying for somebody, you've got that now. You need to find something else that God's going to build you and stretch you in. So it's a continual process. So if you're at a place in your relationship with God where it's stagnant, then you need to start looking at different opportunities that God's giving you to stretch your faith and build your faith.
Yes.
Because
I
that's
totally
the same. It's the same with the talents. What are you doing with what you have? All right. Well, the one that got the talents that increased the talents, they got more. So, well, yeah, you've got this now, but okay, you need to be pursuing more with your relationship with God.
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I can, teaching Sunday school. I was never I never really got into doing it. I mean, I never had a thought of even doing something like that until I got here and Pastor Joe's like, "Hey, you want to teach Sunday school?" I'm like, "Oh man, I don't know."
Yeah.
But you step out and it wasn't in my comfort zone at the time.
Yeah.
But you step out and do it, and then once you start doing it, you're like, I enjoy doing this. Now you're like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah. And then, with God, seeing that, God, if God can trust you with that, God's going to be able to trust you with more, and more and more and more. And it's important to keep yourself humble too, though, because I feel like there are places that you can get in your spiritual growth where you have an almost holier than thou, I'm highly esteemed amongst my Christian brethren, and you can't be prideful, because then you're gonna get a stagnant, in that situation too.
Yeah,
and then you run it's danger. But
Well, we got to wrap it up, guys. But I think the real question is: has your prayer life become the equivalent of Funko Pro's mountain biking life style? I don't know,
man. One of these days, the bus is coming your way, brother.
Hey, don't step on the crypto, man.
Don't bust a crust.
Yeah. Anyway. So, that's the goal. The goal is not to just pray when we need to or when things are going bad, but this daily pursuit of God in prayer, in the Word, and a lot of areas in our spiritual life. So, anyway, there you go, guys. Dudes talking news, sports, and God. We're going to talk to you guys next week as we prepare for the Super Bowl.
All right.